Are you a designer, a general designer wanting to break into the next step of your career and wanting to figure out how to transition into a specialist consultant? If that's you, this video is for you. I'm going to break down the steps and take you through my own experience transitioning from a graphic designer to becoming a product consultant. Before we get into some of the points that I'd like to share with you, I'd like to take you through an illustration of my own pathway, and hopefully you'll find relevance in your own career and see how it might fit you. But if you do have any question after watching this video, please feel free to write us a comment, send me an email, connect with me. I'm more than happy to assist you in your own journey. So in my case, I started as a general designer. And what that means is I graduated as a graphic designer and not really knowing exactly what I'm going to focus on. What I am today is I would consider myself being a specialist consultant. And I'll talk to you about what specialist means in my context. And in this illustration, what I'd like to show you is the pathway to get from here all the way to there. There are, of course, stepping stones in between. I don't want to make it too complicated for you to understand, but I'll just take one extra stepping stone, which is UI, UX designer. So after becoming a graphic designer for a number of years, my career pointed me to having me become a UI and UX designer. So let's break this down in terms of what was I doing as a graphic designer or a general designer, and what I end up doing as a UI and UX designer. So as a general designer, the things that I was doing was a lot of things: photography, packaging, logo design, animation, you name it, and so on and so forth. But you could imagine there are plenty of design execution disciplines that I was doing, and I was using quite a few different tools. It's really depending on what the brand needs and what the campaign was. And it's a matter of whether or not I wanted to pick up the tool, try it myself, and learn about it. Obviously, a lot of these are things that I don't necessarily learn from school or the university, but it's really things that I picked up myself while I was working as a graphic designer or a general designer. The reason why I use the word general here is because really I could do so many different things, but was I a specialist in it? Not really. I could find a photographer that was better than me. I could find a packaging designer who's way better than me because that's all they did as a specialist. I could find another branding designer or logo designer that might dive deeper into the process more than I would have during my time as a general designer, or an animator that could do that even better in a much higher quality with so much more level of details, right? But you get the idea. Essentially, that's what I did in my first cycle of career. Then I was looking for jobs, and I came across a job that pointed me to this. It was the beginning of UI and UX, so it was really web design, application design, things like that. And so what I ended up doing in this role was less things like photography, packaging, logo design, and whatnot, but it's really website design, mobile app design, mobile app. And that was the early stage of my career as a UI and UX designer. But then in time, after a number of years, that brought me to practices such as wireframing, user testing, prototyping, things like that. So as you can see, from this general design knowledge, I was then led into something that is a bit more specific on the screen, such as website design, mobile app design. But then in practice, obviously the industry had evolved, and then processes have become even more sophisticated, that it's broken down to things like wireframing, user testing, activities like prototyping and whatnot. Okay, so during this period of time is when I started to get to know certain industries because of the company that I was working for or the clients that I was dealing with. And in my case, I came across the retail industry. So I'll just put in here retail and shopping and let's say SaaS, or software as a service at that time. And because most of the cases that I was dealing with are this type of cases or challenges, then I start to become somewhat an expert when it comes to projects around retail, shopping, or digital tech and software as a service. And therefore, in combining my experience as a UI UX designer and my knowledge around this sector or the market, I know a lot of stuff when it comes to the execution of the work and what's involved in it and the different types of team members and skill sets that are required to produce a good outcome when it comes to digital tech, retail, shopping, SaaS. But in particular, my role was around the design role. But the specific terms, it's not the branding side of the product. It's not really coming up with videos and photography for the product, but it's really around user interface and user experience for this digital product that we're talking about. Okay, so I would say that's the second phase of my career, which then leads me to diving deeper into practices around systems and processes that could enhance a better process of UX design and UI design that increases the value of design in the context of its business, of the business. So that brought me to learning about new methods. For me at that time, I mean, design thinking isn't new, but for me at that time it was new. So I looked deeper into design thinking. The reason why is because I wanted to learn more about human-centered design. So design thinking, human-centered design, or HCD, which then drove me down the rabbit hole of finding out and discovering design sprints. Now, fast forward to today, I am a specialist consultant in design sprint and design thinking, particularly for digital products in retail, shopping, SaaS. That's all still the same, but all I do is the discovery process, which then points me to the highest impact that I could bring in a project, in the life cycle of a project. And in my case, it was really understanding or having that awareness that I bring the most value in the discovery using HCD or human-centered design with principles of design sprints and design thinking for retail, shopping, SaaS products. So once I've discovered that I'm really good at this and that's my expertise and I have a lot of case studies that backs me up, that's when I decided that this is the path that I want to take and I want to be a specialist, particularly in consultancy or advisory when it comes to this type of case using these type of methods. Now that's out of the way. Hopefully that makes sense. I wanted to give you some quick points of the things to consider when you're trying to make this jump or if you wanted to explore this as part of your journey or your career. So when jumping into this transition to becoming a consultant or a specialist advisor, here are some of the things that you need to consider as part of that process. Number one, it's a mindset shift. You need to focus on the fact that you are the product and you are the expert as opposed to the person who is going to execute it at the end. So when you're hired as an expert advisor or a consultant, you're bringing insights, you're bringing expertise. It's very rare that a client is there to tell you what to do, but rather you're bringing value to the conversation and providing expert advice and recommendation as to what steps or what process or what solutions are really required for their problem. Number two, given that you're in this expertise field, you need to package what you know so that you can productize this service or this delivery that you're about to offer. The more packaged it is, the more simple it is for clients to understand what you actually do and your process, the easier it is that they'll buy into your process and your offer if they believe in you. So in my example, I would have different packages of rapid prototyping processes, different packages of design sprint processes. I may break it down into different types of modules, but essentially I can go to a client and say, here's the things that I do, here are the prices, and I normally go by fixed prices. But if you are able to package it and then package your expertise in a certain way and then create a compelling offer, then hopefully it's a good first step for you to make this transition. Number 3 is about making more use of conversations instead of decks and proposals. Now, I'm not sure if this is also applicable to the other consultants out there, but at least in my experience, I felt like I'm getting more into conversations at the early stage without even having to write a proposal or presenting a presentation deck. So I start conversations with the why conversation and knowing, basically an alignment to make sure that we're the best fit for purpose. And if that's the case, then a simple proposal can come out of it. But yes, it's important to replace your presentation decks with expert conversations that's led by you, and clients are there to basically jam and collaborate with you during that scoping process. And number 4, I said this briefly earlier, but I'm going to re-emphasize it and say that you need to build your toolkit, and it can be quite lightweight. Toolkit meaning is a directory, is a file system, or whatever it may be, that allows you to jump in and showcase some of the work that you've done, whether it's your process, whether it's your pricing, whether it's a particular approach or recordings of some of your sessions or your workshop frameworks and things like that. But essentially a toolkit that allows you to showcase your process and what makes you different as a consultant and the area that you're an expert in. And some of this might be resources that you've collected over time, but the easier it is for you to access the toolkit, the easier it is for you to facilitate an early pre-discovery conversation with your potential client if you were acting as their consultant. Number 5 is about relationships. Now that you are framing yourself as an expert consultant, and you need to build relationships that surrounds you as an expert consultant, and you could leverage out of that relationship to find networks that are applicable to you. Because as a consultant, typically you're dealing with mid to senior level managers, and therefore network is actually very, very important. In addition to publishing yourself as a consultant or as an expert in that particular topic or field, you can also network, obviously, with the right type of people, with the right type of industry affiliations that positions you well as an expert consultant in your area of expertise. And finally, don't stress too much about the things that you would otherwise stress when you first started your freelance business or design business, such as your brand, your logo, and whatnot. When you're an expert consultant, your case studies is the thing that matters the most, and a proof of success of your track record and how deep you specialize in a certain topic is the most important thing. So even if you go out with your own personal name, it's completely fine. Logos, in my opinion, don't matter too much, so don't stress too much about your own branding other than personal brand, which oftentimes really equates to content. Okay, guys, I hope that's helpful and that's beneficial for you while figuring out your way in your journey in your own career. If you do have any questions for me, please reach out. I'd be more than happy to assist you or to answer some of your questions. Otherwise, stay healthy and I'll see you in the next video.